Good morning, Chairman Petroff, board members, and Mr. Turco. My name is Melissa Rowell. There's an old story attributed to Davy Crockett from his time in Congress. Congress had voted to spend $20,000 to help people who had suffered a devastating fire. Later, a constituent challenged Crockett over that vote. His point was simple. You are free to give your own money away, but when you are dealing with the people's money, you have a different responsibility. I think that principle applies not only to how government spends money, but also to how government takes money. The Harris-Galveston Subsidence District describes its disincentive fee as an economic incentive intended to change behavior and reduce groundwater use. I understand the need for rules, permits, limits, and consequences when those limits are exceeded. But there also has to be proportionality and fairness. In the Woodloch matter, we are talking about an exceedance of approximately 2 million gallons that resulted in an assessment of roughly $107,000. But I think we also need to look at the bigger picture. Over the long term, Woodloch has reportedly pumped approximately 30 million gallons less groundwater than it was permitted to pump since 2003. 30 million gallons left in the ground. Shouldn't that conservation record count for something when we evaluate a 2 million gallon exceedance? For perspective, the city of Houston reported losing about 31 billion gallons in 2023, roughly 87 million a day. Compliance should not be viewed through a keyhole. If the purpose of these rules is ultimately to reduce groundwater pumping, then the overall record of groundwater use ought to matter too. When someone can conserve tens of millions of gallons over time, yet face a six-figure charge over one period of exceedance, I think this board should stop and ask whether the fee is still functioning as an incentive or whether it has crossed over into punishment. We often say government should spend money as carefully as if it were our own. I would go further. Public officials should be even more careful with public money than they would be with their own, because it's not their money. It has been entrusted to them. And I believe the same principle should apply when government takes money from people. A fee may be authorized by a rule. That does not relieve us of the responsibility to ask whether the result is reasonable, proportional, and just. Behind every permit number is a person, a business, a nonprofit, a utility, or a community that ultimately has to pay that bill. This matter has been disputed for well over a year, and the person involved has apparently reached the point where he is simply tired of fighting it. Maybe the rules allow this result, but I hope this board will ask a deeper question. Is this really what we intended our regulatory system to do? An effective regulatory system should encourage compliance and conservation. It should not leave reasonable people feeling financially beaten into submission. So as you consider fees, penalties, settlements, and enforcement decisions, I ask you to remember both sides of the Davy Crockett principle. Be careful when you spend the people's money, and be just as careful when you take it from them. Thank you.